Hello there Earth Dwellers, I hope you're all well and corruption free. Now you may or may not have seen a video I did on Horizon Zero Dawn a couple of weeks back. Well, I enjoyed it so much I wanted to do another quick little video showing you some of the final fight scenes along with my final verdict. Yes, I'm going to show some of the final mission, but it's mostly without context. I'm not going to show any endgame cutscenes or anything like that, I don't want to spoil that for you. I'm basically going to show you about the final hour of gameplay. You might spoil a couple of things through context, but I'm not going to give anything major away. Basically, if you don't want anything spoiled at all, then probably walk away now, but if you're not too bothered as long as I don't show the final cutscene, then let's get on with it. So, from the moment I ended my first video with the big bad robot mofo, the game essentially opened up. Once the rest of the map is unlocked, you can go anywhere at any time, apart from mission specific areas that usually exist just off or under the main map. This means that as soon as it's unlocked, you can go around completing all the hunting missions, collectibles, bandit camps and corrupted zones before you've even dived into the main story. I wouldn't recommend this as you'll probably end up getting made into a ginger kebab unless you're really good at games or really good at hiding just out of the enemy's reach like me. Even though there are a bunch of different types of side missions to do, they don't really achieve a whole lot apart from getting some XP and unlocking a few rare chests from the traders in Meridian. But everyone knows that the chests suck, and most of the best items in the game can be acquired fairly early on. So unless you're going for the platinum trophy like me, the collectibles don't really offer much. The combat is by far my favourite part of this game. At first it may seem confusing with all the different weapons and elements on offer, but combine them with the information given to you by your focus and you can launch a hefty assault on most enemies. My favourite mode of attack is to freeze an enemy, then hit it with a triple arrow from my most powerful bow, then carrying on the onslaught from there. If you haven't experimented with freezing enemies, by the way, make sure you do, it's super effective. The variety of enemies is also awesome, and they're all unique enough to be interesting. I didn't find myself taking over a lot of the enemies, probably because I was so OP from side questing and buying all the weapons that I didn't really need to, but it is a cool addition nonetheless. I've said this before, but the game really is stunning and continues to take your breath away unexpectedly throughout the game. I did find that playing the game for long periods would leave my eyes a little bit blurry. I don't know if that was just me or not, but it's not something I've ever experienced before. Either way, I spent a fair amount of time with the picture mode trying to set up cool action shots and sprawling landscape shots. It was surprisingly fun and gives you a chance to really appreciate the minutiae of the graphics and animation. The story is interesting enough to keep me involved, but not so complicated that I grew disinterested. There is a lot more backstory on offer and nuances available if you're interested, but the main storyline works just as well without all that. I love Aloy as a character and honestly enjoyed most of the people I met along the way. They all felt pretty real and there was a good mixture of heroes, villains, civilians and cowards who all acted accordingly, and I really liked that. The story mode itself could probably be completed in around 10 hours. It's filled with scene changes and set pieces to really keep the action and narrative moving. The only problem is if you play the main story in one big go, then you'll be hit with a huge action movie complete with epic battles tied in with a journey of discovery and purpose. The issue is, once that's over, you're left with a map full of mediocre and fairly straightforward side missions and collectibles, which can grow boring when doing them all in one big go. So because of that, I've decided that the best way to play this game is to play the main story one mission at a time, peppered with a side quest or two in between each one. This way you're experiencing more of the game and lengthening your play time without it getting stale. Now the negatives I have with this game are pretty minimal, to be honest. Little things like, I hate that the potions, traps, rocks, distractions and mount call are all on the same little menu attached to the left and right buttons on the D-pad. This means if you're fully stocked, when you want to heal during an intense battle, not only do you have to tap left 7 times to get to the potion you want, but you have to take your eyes off the action to see which one you've selected. It's not very intuitive and it's gotten me killed on more than one occasion. Another gripe I had with the game is once you open the second part of the map, you can pretty much get all of the best weapons in the game straight away, and this leaves you overpowered, but also you lose that sense of excitement not knowing what weapon you'll unlock next or what extra powers it may have. At least you don't unlock the super powerful armor until near the end of the game, but after you do, the game's even easier because you have a period of invincibility before taking damage, and that recharges when you're not taking damage. I felt like a fucking T-1000. And my final annoyance, and this is more with something that wasn't in the game than something that was, I love the fact that you can learn to override the different enemies, but it seems pretty pointless because they don't change their path or do anything different, apart from the 3 mountable ones of course. This means that unless you possess a big enemy who happens to be right in the middle of a group of other baddies, he won't be much use. I think this mechanic would have been so much cooler if you could give some basic commands to your new ally, so he could follow you into a battle and actually be useful. Now I know this may seem like cheating because you'd never have to fight, but it would have to be done in such a limited way that it would still be fair. Like, you can only do it once, then it dies, or only lasts a certain amount of time after being given the order, or the enemies in certain areas can disable the mind control, or whatever. You get the idea. I'm not a games designer. It would have been so much fun and given the game another option in combat. Anyway, all that being said, I highly recommend Horizon Zero Dawn. It's a fun game with lots of characters and combat, and depending on your playstyle can last anywhere from 10 to 30 plus hours. The positives are bountiful and the negatives are trivial. Gun to my head, I'd probably give this game something like a 9.5 out of 10. That may seem high to some people, but honestly I'm a positive guy, and I don't dive into new games looking for things to pick on and dislike. If you're halfway through the game, I'm sure you're loving it and I'd love to hear your opinions, and if you haven't picked it up yet, I implore you to do so, at least until they sort out Mass Effect Andromeda. I haven't played it yet, but I've heard nothing but bad things. So that's all from me today. Please don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe, stay out of trouble, and try not to get shit on the new carpet.